Hello everyone. Have you ever been confused by all the different Porsche 911 trims? The Carrera, S, GTS, Turbo, GT3, GT3 RS. They may look nearly identical, but each one is built for a very different type of driver. I'll be going through a broad overview of the 2025 Porsche 911 trims that are currently available, and I will give you some sound clips of what they sound like as well. The first car we're going to go through is the base model, so the Porsche 911 Carrera, which has a starting price of $132,000. It is a rear-wheel drive train, so all the power comes from the rear wheels. It has a 0 to 60 of 3.9 seconds, and it has a top speed of 183 miles an hour. The next car we will be talking about is very similar to the Porsche 911 Carrera. It is the Porsche 911 Carrera T, which has a price of around $143,000. It has also a rear-wheel drive, and it has a 0 to 60 of around 4.3 seconds. Due to the fact that it is manual, it's slightly slower, just due to user error. And then it has the same amount of horsepower, 388 horsepower, and it has the same top speed of 183 miles an hour. And here's what it sounds like. The next car I will be talking about is the Porsche 911 Carrera S, which has a starting price of $151,000. It's also a rear-wheel drive, and it has a slightly faster 0 to 60 of 3.3 seconds. This is because it has more horsepower. It is 473 horsepower, and it has a top track speed of 191 miles an hour. The next car I'll be talking about is the Porsche 911 Carrera 4S, which is very similar to the 911 Carrera S, but it's four-wheel drive. It starts from around $160,000. As I said, it's all-wheel drive. It has the same 0 to 60 time as the Carrera S, though, of 3.3 seconds, and it's the same amount of horsepower of 473, and it has the same top speed of 191 miles an hour. And here's what those would sound like. The next car I'll be talking about is the Porsche 911 Carrera GTS, which starts from around $176,000. It's rear-wheel drive, and it has a 0 to 60 of 2.9 seconds, which is crazy. And it has a max power of 532 horsepower, and it has a top speed of 194 horsepower, so slightly faster than the Carrera S. And then similarly to the Carrera S and Carrera 4S, there's a Porsche 911 Carrera 4 GTS, which is the all-wheel drive of the Carrera GTS. It has an MSRP of around $184,000. It is all-wheel drive. It has a 0 to 60 of 2.9 seconds, and it has 532 horsepower with a top speed of also 194 miles an hour. And here's what it would sound like. The next car I'll be talking about is the Porsche 911 Carrera Cabriolet, which is basically the series of Porsche where it's not hardtop, it's soft top, so it's collapsible so that you can have an open roof and enjoy the air when you're going down the road. The Porsche 911 Carrera Cabriolet has an MSRP of around $146,000. It's rear-wheel drive, and it has a 0 to 60 of 4.1 seconds. It is 388 horsepower, similar to the normal 911 Carrera. It's just a soft top instead of a hard top, and it has the same top speed of 181 miles an hour. Well, it's different, it's slightly slower, but that's because it's a hard top. The next car I'm going to talk about is the Porsche 911 Carrera T, which is similar to the Porsche 911 Carrera T because it's the cabriolet version, so it's the soft top once again. And it starts from around $157,000. It's rear-wheel drive, and it has a 0 to 60 of 4.5 seconds, slightly slower because it's a soft top, and it's also manual. So there can be user error in there. And it has the same horsepower as the Carrera Cabriolet. and it has a top speed of 182 miles an hour. And here's what those sound like. The next car I'll be talking about is similar to the previous two. It's like the Carrera S and Carrera 4S, but it's the cabriolet versions of those. The Porsche 911 and Carrera S Cabriolet, which is the soft top, has a starting price of $165,000. It's rear-wheel drive, and it has a 0 to 60 of 3.5 seconds. And it has a max engine power of 473 horsepower and a top speed of 191 miles an hour. The next one we're going to look at is similar, but it's the four-wheel drive version of the Porsche 911 Carrera S Cabriolet. It's the Porsche 911 Carrera 4S Cabriolet, which has an MSRP of $173,000. It's all-wheel drive. It has a 0 to 60 of 3.5 seconds, and it has 473 horsepower and a top speed of 191 miles per hour. And here's what those would sound like. The next car I'm going to talk about is the Porsche 911 Carrera GTS Cabriolet. So the GTS version, but it's a soft top once again. And those start from around $190,000. They're rear-wheel drive, and they have a 0 to 60 of 3 seconds flat, which is crazy for a soft top. And then it has 532 horsepower and a top speed of 194 miles an hour, which is insane. And then we have the four-wheel drive version, which is the Porsche 911 Carrera 4 GTS Cabriolet, which is a mouthful, first off. And then secondly, it has a price of around $198,000. It is all-wheel drive with the name 4 GTS, and it has a 0 to 60 of 3 seconds flat, and it also has 532 horsepower like the Porsche 911 Carrera GTS Cabriolet, and it has a top speed of 194 miles an hour. And here's what those would sound like. The next car I'm going to talk about is slightly different. It's the Porsche 911 Targa 4S, which starts from around $175,000. It's all-wheel drive. It has a 0 to 60 of 3.5 seconds, and it produces 473 horsepower with a top speed of 191 miles an hour. And here's what that would sound like. The next car I'll be talking about is the Porsche 911 Targa 4 GTS. So a slightly faster version of the Targa 4 with a starting price of $198,000, which is a lot of money. Yeah. It's all-wheel drive. It's got a 0 to 60 of 3 seconds flat. It's got 532 horsepower, which is a lot. And it's got a top speed of 194 miles an hour. And here's what that would sound like. Okay, now we're getting to the ones that everybody loves. The next one I'm going to talk about is the Porsche 911 GT3. I know there's a lot of GT3 lovers out there. Me personally, I'm not the biggest fan of GT3. I am more of a Porsche 911 Turbo S kind of guy. But that's okay. I'm going to still explain this in depth as well. So the Porsche 911 GT3 starts from around $231,000. It's rear-wheel drive. It has a 0 to 60 of 3.2 seconds. It has 502 horsepower, and it has a top speed of 193 miles an hour, which is pretty fast. And then we got the Porsche 911 GT3 Touring, which is basically the same as the GT3, but it comes without the wing. It's got the spoiler on the back, so it's just slightly different. It starts from around $231,000. It's rear-wheel drive. It's got a 0 to 60 of 3.7 seconds. It produces 502 horsepower, and it's got a top track speed of 194 miles an hour. The next one I'm going to talk about is, I think, overhyped in my opinion, but you can be the guest of that, I guess. It has, well, this one is the Porsche 911 GT3 RS, so everybody loves this car, apparently. It has a price of $250,000 starting, which is pretty crazy. It's rear-wheel drive. It has a 0 to 60 of 2.4 seconds, which is just mental. It has 701 horsepower, and it has a top speed of 200 miles an hour. 200 miles an hour, which is just crazy. The next one we're going to talk about is the Porsche 911 Turbo S, which starts from around $270,000. It's all-wheel drive. It has a 0 to 60 of 2.5 seconds. It has 701 horsepower, and it's got a top speed of 200 miles an hour, which is still mental, but that one's my personal favorite because I just like how it looks better. And then the next one is the Porsche 911 Turbo S Cabriolet. So it's the soft top of the Turbo S. It starts from around a crazy $284,000. It's all-wheel drive. It has a 0 to 60 of 2.5 seconds, which is crazy for a soft top. It has 701 horsepower, and it's got a top speed of 200 miles an hour. And then the last one I'm going to talk about is the Porsche 911 GT3 9 FA Porsche, which is basically I believe it's the anniversary edition Porsche. It starts from around a crazy $387,000, which you could buy a lot for that, like almost a house. The drivetrain it's rear-wheel drive. It's got a 0 to 60 of 3.7 seconds. It has 502 horsepower and a top speed of 194 miles an hour. I personally think this car is more of a collector than an actual driving car, so I personally wouldn't get it, but just letting you know, like, all the stats around it. In conclusion, overall, the Porsche 911 trims range in price from $132,000 to $387,000. They have a 0 to 60 ranging from 4.5 seconds to 2.4 seconds, which is mental. And then the horsepower figures range from 388 horsepower to 701 horsepower. And the top speeds range from 183 to 200 miles an hour, which is crazy. I hope this video made you more knowledgeable on Porsche 911s. If you like this video, consider liking and subscribing for more car content like this.